Hey, everybody, I'm Will Selva from NFL Network and Good Morning Football.
And I'm MJ Acosta Ruiz from the NFL Network, and we are back with a brand new season of El Huddle. Each week, Will and I break down some of the biggest news stories and talk to the biggest names from around the game.
Each episode will highlight what stories, matchups, strategies we're looking forward to in the upcoming week.
No fluency required. We got you. We're your tutors in Espanol. All you need is a love of the game and la cultura.
Listen to El Huddle on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You are listening to the Dan Patrick Show on Fox Sports Radio.
How's morale? Hope you had a great weekend, everybody. A week from today, we'll be in Las Vegas. So will the Niners and the Chiefs. Best and worst of the weekend. Your opportunity to be part of the program, dial us up. Operator Tyler standing by, 877-3DP Show. Good morning, those watching on Peacock, our streaming partner, or listening on our radio stations, numbering 400 cities around America. Stat of the day, as always, brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the Dan Patrick Show. And this first hour brought to you by the great folks of Las Vegas, a city where spectacle and celebration are woven into the fabric of the community. Las Vegas, where conventional is challenged and the unexpected embraced. It's not just celebrating, it's celebration with an edge. Play of the day, poll question, stat of the day, all of that coming up here. And we'll talk to Louis Riddick of the Mothership, also Jason McCourty, NFL Network. He was working yesterday, the Chiefs holding off the Ravens, and the 49ers come back to beat the Lions, down 24-7 at halftime. By the way, Michigan has named Sharon Moore as their head coach, replacing Jim Harbaugh. All right, Seton, what's poll question we're going to dive into today?
You want to dive right into it, huh?
Yep, might as well.
Yep, all right. Let's see. We might come up with a game today called Bad Decision or Good Decision, Bad Result.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Such as, for example,
Okay.
Dan Campbell and the Lions repeatedly going for it on fourth down on Sunday instead of kicking a field goal. Bad decision, good decision, bad result.
Well, he knows his team, and I think you got to factor that in, that we can look at it from outside looking in and go, why are you going for it? Why are you not going for it at the end of the first half? I just thought if you're going to stay with what your theme is, with who you are, it's almost like Dan Campbell said, no, this is how we win. This is our mindset the entire year. Instead of factoring in sort of where you are, the personnel you were going against, and maybe momentum, there are a lot of things that factor into that. It's not just as simple as, hey, it's 4th and 2, you go for it. I didn't understand not going for it at the end of the first half. Because if you score a touchdown there, now it's 28-7. And to me, that is huge.
That felt like a dagger if they had done that.
Yes, and I thought Dan Campbell would be aggressive and go, you know what? They're down. We got to knock them out. And he didn't. They kicked the field goal, and I'm like, okay, get points. You don't want to give them momentum. They're going to get the ball back to open up the second half. And then the other two, he knows his team. But I'm going to give credit to what the Niners did. And Greg Olsen, who had a wonderful game, pointed this out. You know, they're sort of giving you something, or you think it's something, and then it's something else. And I think, you know, I'm not going to blame the Lions for going for it. I'm going to credit the 49ers with how they played it. Yes, Eden.
It's weird because Dan Campbell is sort of being criticized for both decisions.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm not really saying you, but I'm saying people are like, Coach, why didn't you go for the touchdown on the first half? You should have, instead of kicking the field goal, you should have tried to score a touchdown there and put the game away. And then later in the game, it's like, Coach, why did you go for it? You should have kicked the field goal.
I had no problem. If you want to be aggressive, then be aggressive. But he wasn't aggressive at the end of the first half, but he was aggressive in the second half. And that, to me, was a little bit confusing. Yes, Eden.
I like everything that Dan Campbell did. I think they so many times when you're watching a game, people are like, they need to do what got them here.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. He didn't go for it at the end of the first half because he said, well, it was a little further away than what we were comfortable for. So if it was week 3, they wouldn't have gone for it there either. They would have kicked the field goal. Just like in the second half, if it was week 3, we would have gone for it here. This is what we do.
Yeah, Paulie.
However, and I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not even sure what I believe here. In the second half, when the Niners get the ball, they run down and they only get a field goal, but they get a field goal. And you get the ball right downfield and you go for it on fourth down, the Lions, and they don't get it. when they were getting ready to decide, I remember thinking to myself, it'd be really nice to match that field goal with a field goal and make it a 3-score game again. That seemed like it would calm everything down. Would you alter your decisions based off setting, momentum?
Yeah.
That's where I was. That's the only thing I thought of in the moment. Like, boy, I'd love to get a quick 3 here.
Here's Dan Campbell on going for it twice on 4th down.
I just felt really good about us converting and getting our momentum and not letting them play long ball. They were bleeding the clock out. That's what they do. And I wanted to get the upper hand back. It's easy hindsight, and I get it, I get that. But I don't regret those decisions, and that's hard. It's hard because, we didn't come through. It wasn't able to work out, but I don't. And I understand the scrutiny I'll get. That's part of the gig, man. We just didn't work out.
If you want to know what pain sounds like, that's pain for an NFL head coach. And if I would have said to Lions fans when we started the season, hey, you're going to go to the conference title game, but you're going to lose. You're going to lose after having a 17-point lead. Would you say you had a good year? And I hope Lions fans take away the positive from this because it's set up nicely for you. Cowboys fell on their face. The Eagles were a disappointment. Tampa was one of the playoff teams. You did have to go through San Francisco eventually, but it's set up nicely for the Lions. You should have, the Niners should have lost to Green Bay, and the Niners should have lost to Detroit. But they found a way, and that's what great teams do. They find a way to win. Like yesterday, Kansas City, underdog in Baltimore, number 1 scoring defense. You're going against the MVP. The weather is not conducive to doing anything offensively, and your defense was unbelievable. Patrick Mahomes was part of the story. That defense was unbelievable. Second best scoring defense in the NFL. And we can talk about offense every single year. Oh, my gosh. Passing numbers, receiving numbers. What does it come down to? Every year. Defense. Somebody's got to play it. Come up with a big stop. That's important. L'Jarius Sneed knocking the ball out with Zay, like just these moments. And that's all it takes. It's 1 or 2 of these moments. And that's what's going to happen in the Super Bowl. There'll be 1 or 2 moments where somebody makes a play or doesn't make a play defensively. And you saw that yesterday. The last team to blow a lead of 17 or more points in the conference title game was the Chiefs. They blew an 18-point game lead in the loss to the Bengals, the 2021 AFC title game.
Woo! Ow! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! This is the stat of the day!
Stat of the day brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the Dan Patrick Show. Zay Flowers, who I loved when they drafted him, had a really good season, did not have a good day yesterday, and he had the ball stripped from him as he's getting ready to go into the end zone. I'm going to give you both calls. Let me give you the Ravens call of Zay Flowers with the ball being stripped from him.
Aguilar sets to the right in the slot. Chiefs show blitz pressure, they bring it. Lamar fires in the end zone. Nope, shy of the end zone. Zay Flowers dives at the goal line. Ball comes loose.
I'm hoping. I can't tell.
It looked like he broke the plane. The officials converge, and they're calling a touchback. This will automatically be reviewed because it's now a touchback. We're taking a look at the first replay.
It's close.
It is right
real.
at the line.
No, he dropped it. He got it knocked out.
Yeah, it wasn't close. And if he goes down at the 1 yard line, it's first down there. Here is the Kansas City Chiefs call of Zay Flowers' fumble.
Here's Lamar Jackson over the middle, caught by Zay Flowers, and lunges for the end zone. They're going to say the ball's out. They're going to say the ball is out in the end zone. The Chiefs think they have the ball in the end zone. No official has been given yet. They're going to say a touchback. The Chiefs recover the ball in the end zone. Zay Flowers caught the ball and fumbles the ball into the end zone.
The runner fumbles short of the goal line, recovered in the end zone by
Kansas City has a touchback. Zay Flowers hit short of the end zone and fumbles the ball.
Okay.
Oh, Yankees win.
That's courtesy of The Wolf, the Chiefs radio network. Also 98 Rock Ravens radio network. Zay Flowers after the game.
Justice just said he doesn't want you to feel like you're defined by one play. What does that mean to you that your teammates are talking about that right now?
Like I said, those are my brothers. I ain't expect nothing different from them. So, we all got each other backs.
Yeah, they do in the offseason. But once again, this is when the Joker won 2 MVPs. And then he didn't have any postseason success. And I think that factored in on him not going back to back to back, and Joel Embiid won the MVP. Well, Joker won the NBA title. So no one will ever vote going, well, he hadn't had postseason success. Lamar Jackson might have a tough time winning MVP, even though what you do in the postseason is not supposed to impact what you do during the regular season. He did not have a good game. They did not have a good game. But Kansas City, once again, as an underdog, and they're an underdog. It started out at, I think, 2, and now it's down to a point. So a slight underdog. But once again, here's Mahomes as an underdog. And as I said, for many, many years, felt like a couple of decades, I'd never bet against Tom Brady. I'd never bet against Patrick Mahomes. He has elevated to that status. And there aren't many people in that category there. It doesn't take long to call roll, but he's there. And he did just enough. By the way, Isaiah Pacheco, he's fun to watch. Can't be fun to tackle, but he's fun to watch. He gets his money's worth every single time. Like you can't go, hey, you didn't seem like you gave 100%. I didn't. I gave 110. He just runs angry. So we'll come up with a poll question, but that's the betting line right now. The over-under is 47.5 according to DraftKings, but the Niners, they are favored by 1. Odds to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Who has the best odds to score a touchdown? Marvin, I'll start with you.
CMC.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. And congratulations to your 49ers, Marvin.
Yeah, we?
The
first half was a rough one.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was we.
And Travis Kelce, who I didn't think had a particularly good year, and maybe is not the best tight end in football anymore. But when you need him, you got him. 11 catches and a touchdown. 8 career playoff games with at least 100 receiving yards. That ties anything you do that ties you with Jerry Rice, or you're in the category with Jerry Rice, that's good company. That's the most all time. So he's had 6 career playoff games with at least 10 catches. That is double more than anybody else in history. He's special at finding that spot. Hey, you're going to do man, you're going to do zone, don't do zone, you'll find a spot. Like, he just sort of drifts. He floats out there, and then he stops. And then Mahomes finds him. Still, it's one of those where you go, how is he always open? But it's understanding spacing. Like, there's certain guys where you go, how does that guy get his shot off? How is he always open? Like, there certain guys in certain sports, you go, how does that happen? Kelsey's one of those guys that you just go, he just seems to know how to play the game. Find the spot. Because remember, we were thinking Kyle Hamilton, they got their safety, young kid, physical, big as Kelsey, going to match up with him. And all of a sudden it's like, bloop, 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 bloop. And I'm going, somebody better tell the safety, Travis Kelce's having a career game. Yes, Todd.
And Kelce kept his cool, which the Ravens on a couple of occasions did not when he got headbutted and knew not to retaliate for a 15-yard penalty on that.
Yeah, what are we doing? I don't understand that. You get a taunting penalty or you do a headbutt like nobody's watching? Like you're that out of control? You're going to do that? Wow, I'm going to get back at you. You're wearing a helmet. I'm going to headbutt you. Oh, wow, that's got to hurt. Or I'm going to stand up and spin the ball over you. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, Paulie.
Do you find yourself, though, in the second half of the Ravens going, they're still in this? It felt like it was far, but like beyond the Flowers fumble, or which I call a punch out because he didn't drop it. Snead made the play. When Lamar Jackson, I think it was 2nd and 10, they were in easy field goal territory. They could have cut it to a 1-score game. That throw into triple coverage was unnecessary.
Yeah. You could tell just frustration. And he could have run. That's one of those where you start believing what everybody keeps saying about you. I don't know. Can he stay in the pocket? Hey, can he carve you up from the pocket? I would have Lamar Jackson. Okay, if it's week 3, stay in the pocket. This is a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Go. Whatever it takes. Hey, I don't want you to get banged up. Don't take on defenders here. It's week 3, and you're playing this game, against Cleveland. Okay. This game, I would have just said go. Make magic. Put pressure. I didn't feel like they put pressure on Kansas City's defense. Yeah, Marv.
Right, because when Lamar Jackson is in week 4, you say what? I need you healthy for what? The playoffs.
Yes.
So look, now we're in the playoffs. The game before the Super Bowl. Run.
We'll take a break. When we come back, the level of pain Lions fans must be feeling today. We'll get to your phone calls coming up. They need a hug today.
Might be too soon for this.
You think?
Might be too soon.
Well, it's my job. Unbiased. And that pain. But if you're the Lions, you get to feel that pain. This isn't a consolation prize, I'm sure, to you, but to feel that pain means you were close. It's like when the Cubs had, the Bartman game. Like the pain of almost. At least you're relevant. You're back in the picture here. Now, you don't want a history of this like the Buffalo Bills, but we'll talk about this coming up. And your phone calls as well. Best and worst of the weekend right after this.
Be sure to catch the live edition of the Dan Patrick Show weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and the iHeartRadio app.
Paulie Fusco here with Tony Fusco.
Yo.
Of course, you know us as the host of the #1 rated show in all of sports talk, the Paulie and Tony Fusco Show.
Yeah.
Now, the suits at Fox Sports Radio gave us this airtime because they wanted us to tell you how great our show is.
Why?
Yeah, instead of us doing that, let's just let our millions of fans do the talking.
Yeah, play the tape.
You don't know crap about sports. I mean, why am I even on this crap?
Whoa. That's the wrong tape.
Wrong tape.
Just forget that. Look, listen to the Paulie and Tony Fusco Show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, everybody, I'm Will Selva from NFL Network and Good Morning Football.
And I'm MJ Acosta Ruiz from the NFL Network, and we are back with a brand new season of El Huddle.
Que bueno, El Huddle is the only English-language original NFL podcast celebrating and recognizing their influences in the NFL while covering the most relevant stories with Latino voices and perspectives.
Each week, Will and I break down some of the biggest news stories and talk to the biggest names from around the game.
And speaking of games, each episode will highlight what stories, matchups, strategies we're looking forward to in the upcoming week, and what questions are we asking each other, like, who's going to be our perro macho? How about Plátano Power?
Who had un poquito más? I love to see that. And what teams are going above and beyond?
What players do we need to see more from?
No fluency required. We got you. We're your tutors en español. All you need is a love of the game and la cultura.
Listen to El Huddle on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
More phone calls coming up. By the way, I'm looking at second half stats by the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't do anything. Nothing. And, maybe we saw that Baltimore defense we thought we were going to see, but give credit to Kansas City's defense because they went toe-to-toe and then some and shutting down the Ravens. Let's bring in Louis Riddick. He is part of the college football and NFL coverage there. ESPN NFL college football analyst and former Washington and Eagles director of pro personnel. Louis, thanks for joining us. Explain to me what the Chiefs defense did to Lamar Jackson.
Well, I think it's kind of a twofold thing, Dan. I think first and foremost, early on, you could see that Steve Spagnuolo said, hey, look, we're going to try and make this a one-dimensional game, make this a passing game for you. So when you come out and you try to run the football early in the game, we're going to play some very, very tight, up at the line, 8-man fronts. And our guys, our defensive line is going to fire off this ball. Our linebackers are coming downhill. And we're going to try and discourage you and try and get into the head of offensive coordinator Todd Monken and get you out of that thinking that you can run against us. Because if we can get you into a one-dimensional game, we'll take our chances you throwing the football. And he played right into that. Todd Monk and the offensive game plan played right into that. And that's when Spags had him exactly where he wanted him. Because from there, he unleashed the 5- and 6-man pressures, lots of man coverage in the back end, which they're very, very good at anyway. Chris Jones was, you start being able to time up the snap count. You start getting a rhythm as a pass rusher. You start getting a rhythm as far as what routes they're trying to throw. And Lamar never looked comfortable. So as soon as he got him out of thinking that they could run the football and stay two-dimensional, which was a mistake on their part, then they had him, because that is exactly what they wanted. That's what they wanted to do going in.
I'm wondering, as we move forward, just like we did with Nikola Jokic, he won back-to-back MVPs. And I think he lost the third one because we thought he's never done anything in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
And it did factor in, I think, in the voting that he's going to be a 3-time, back-to-back-to-back. And then Joel Embiid, who had a wonderful season. We saw what Joker did in the playoffs. He won the title. I wonder if we're going to do that with Lamar Jackson, that here he has 2 MVPs now, but he has very little postseason success. That do voters look at him differently? And I know the postseason doesn't factor in on the regular season voting, but is he going to be viewed differently that he won these MVPs but had nothing really to show for it in the postseason?
I don't think there's any question that it'll play a part, because they're human beings that are voting. People don't forget. And maybe that's part of the whole MVP voting process that maybe needs to be reevaluated, as far as, look, I think the people who are voting for MVP obviously understand that regular season and postseason success are totally different animals. And if you're really going to be considered one of the greats of all time, what do most people kind of use as the standard for that? It's what you do in the postseason, right? And so MVP is supposed to represent, as we move on through history, it's supposed to represent a significant achievement. You're the most valuable player, not during the regular season, but overall for your football team. You're supposed to be a guy who impacts winning at the highest level at the most crucial times. And so people are going to say, well, Lamar wasn't able to impact his football team and help lead them to wins at the most crucial of times. And that being the situation yesterday. Now, there's a number of different reasons why things didn't go the way they went yesterday. And some of that has to do with him. There's no doubt about that. A lot of it has to do also with, could they have been more balanced? Sure. Should you give a ton of credit to the Kansas City Chiefs defense? There is absolutely no question. But to get back to your question, for sure, Lamar knows this, you know this, I know this, we all know this. He will be judged based upon what he does in the postseason, the same way we're judging Dak Prescott, the same way we judge Josh Allen, and the same reason why we love Tom Brady, and why right now, well, not right now, when it's all said and done, we'll love Patrick Mahomes and put him at the very top.
Explain to me how Travis Kelce finds these openings.
You know what? I was tweeting about this yesterday, so I was kind of losing my mind about this. Okay, free access to guys like Travis Kelce, meaning you let them off the line of scrimmage and let them kind of work against. It's not really spot drop zone, meaning you just kind of run to a spot and look at the quarterback. It's more man match zone, meaning you match guys once they come into your zone. But nevertheless, he's too good to allow him to play positional basketball basically against you, especially when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who is on the same page as him, where you they kind of like to have this unspoken communication to where he knows where to move, slide, find zone voids. And Patrick is just so good at being able to determine and, well, first of all, move defenders where he wants them with his eyes, with pump fakes, ball feints, whatever you want to call them. And then they're able to just kind of pick you apart. Now, two of Travis's best catches yesterday were against man coverage situations where Patrick could only put it, like on the 4th down conversion, where he's rolling right. They have it shut down. And he comes back and he throws that high pass, that high deep crosser to Travis Kelce, where that's a Hall of Fame throw, a Hall of Fame catch by a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame tight end. And his first touchdown against Kyle Hamilton is also man coverage. So you're sitting there going, look, we have our best guy, Kyle Hamilton, first team All-Pro, on their best player, and he just won.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's nothing you can really do. But when on the during the times when you can do something like not allowing him free access, not allowing him to pick you apart against zone defense, that drives me nuts. And look, he's made a living off of that his entire career. And that's why now he's the most productive postseason pass catcher in the history of the NFL. Not by accident. He's good, but a lot of people have helped him get there in terms of poor defensive structure and game plan.
Talking to the Mothership's Louis Riddick, if you were in the Lions locker room at halftime, what would you be saying to your teammates, if anything?
Sure. Look, if I was on the team, I would be saying this: hey, look, we're dominating the line of scrimmage. We're literally knocking these guys senseless off the ball. Let's keep running it with Jameer and David. Let's keep trying to make sure we get it to Sam and get it to Amon-Ra. Jared, just be smart with the football. And defense, hey, look, we're going to make sure that Debo doesn't get loose. We're going to make sure that, that Brandon doesn't get behind us. And we'll be all right. We're going to be fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. But you know what? I mean, what happens is Debo came out in that second half, and you could see the urgency he had. You could see how quickly he wanted to get moving. Brock started getting into a rhythm. They kick a field goal on the first drive. They come back. They stop him on that fourth down where it's 24-10, where Bosa gets a nice pass rush. Jarrett gets a little flustered. They throw it to Josh Reynolds. He drops it. Then they go down. They score. Then Jameer fumbles. Then they score again. And see, at that point, San Francisco starts thinking, this is what we were supposed to be doing all along. Detroit starts thinking, okay, well, that conversation that we just had in the locker room, all of a sudden that doubt starts creeping into your mind. As fans start going, you start realizing this is a pretty good football team they have over there. And you know what? Once your psyche starts to get fractured like that, it's just human nature, man, for some people to get tight. It's human nature for some people to start doing things that are out of character. And once you feel a certain rhythm coming for you where maybe you were doubting yourself initially and you start making some plays, all of a sudden you start feeling like, okay, here I go. And we've seen it we see it in youth sports. We see it in professional sports. I watch it with my 13-year-old son. He misses a few shots in the basketball game early. His shoulders are slumped, and I'm sitting there yelling at him from the stands, pick your head up. He hits a three-pointer. Next thing you know, he's flying up and down the court, and everything starts to roll. And that's how that game flipped.
But I'm looking at the Lions in the fourth down decisions. I know we focused on this a lot. They didn't go for it at the end of the first half. They went for it twice in the second half. Mm-hmm. But if this is week 5 of the NFL, it's different. This is a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I have to factor that in with the decisions that I make because there's sort of that pucker power that, you know what, these are big, big moments there. Yep. Your thoughts on Dan Campbell being Dan Campbell?
Yeah, look, and I've thought about this a lot because, look, I understand that Dan has taken the information, the win probabilities, the probabilities of success in those specific situations in terms of being able to convert, the probabilities in terms of how, how it affects, maybe the probability of them winning the football game. If he is to convert, what are the chances of convert? And look, he's done that all year long. And so he stayed true to who he is. And he has continued to try and be very aggressive because they've had a ridiculous amount of success being successful. I get it. So I get that part of it. I think sometimes, though, when you decide, okay, so if you're going to, in those situations, like let's just talk about Josh Reynolds in particular on the first one, all right? Yes, Bosa had a great pass rush, and it affected Jared Goff, and it was a little bit of an off-target throw. But you know what? If I'm going to go for it in those situations, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the play that I have dialed up, come hell or high water, I'm trying to get it to the guy who I know is going to be the most consistent playmaker for me because he has been in the past too. If I'm going to remain consistent in terms of my aggression, then 14 is getting that ball somehow, some way if I'm throwing it. Amon-Ra's the guy. He's not going to be a second or third option backside. He's the primary guy. And why wasn't he the guy? Why wasn't he the guy in that situation in particular? Because clearly Josh Reynolds was not able to rise to the occasion. It started getting in his head. And I know maybe Jared Goff was just playing out the play, and reading it out the way it's naturally supposed to be read out. But I'm telling you, if you're going to go ahead and be aggressive, then I'm definitely going to make sure it's about players over plays, and I'm getting it to my best people. And I don't know if they necessarily did that. And they're going to have to live with the results.
Yeah, you just wonder. It's set up as well as it possibly could for the Lions. That you had the Cowboys bow out. Tampa makes the playoffs. You don't worry about the Eagles. It just felt like, okay, you can beat San Francisco. Green Bay should have beaten San Francisco. And You're up 24-7. How do you how long does this one sting?
Oh, it'll sting. It'll sting forever, simply because there's no guarantee that they'll ever get back there, and he admitted that.
But is this 28-3 Falcons Patriots type of?
I mean, obviously that's Super Bowl, but it still has that kind of lingering, like, heartbreaking effect. Look, I remember my very first year working for Philadelphia in 2008. We made it to the NFC Championship game against Kurt Warner and Arizona Cardinals down there in Arizona. And I remember thinking, man, we got all the way here. And when we lost that game, I remember that flight home. I didn't play the game. I was a scout there, and I was up in the booth helping that day. But it felt just crushing. And we never got close to getting back to that. Andy never got close getting back to that until he got to Kansas City. So it could be years. It could be years before they get back there again. And it's and you know what? And I'll tell you what. And I know people, I've heard this morning people keep saying Detroit gave that game to San Francisco. San Francisco didn't win it. Detroit lost it. Well, you know what? Okay. I saw Brock Purdy make some very special plays. I saw all of a sudden Nick Bosa making some very special plays. I saw Fred Warner making some very special plays that it wasn't just Detroit giving it to him. They took it. And yeah, I think that's what makes this game and as beautiful as it is and what makes it as heartbreaking as it is because when you're that close and you know that every single situation, every single decision will go down in history as far as whether or not you made it to a game like the Super Bowl or you were just a couple plays away, man, that's hard. That's hard to stomach. And I don't necessarily think teams necessarily lose games like that. I think it's more about, players making plays in crucial situations that really are able to rise to those moments. And you saw some guys rise to those moments yesterday and some guys not be able to rise to those moments. I really think that's I think we're kind of cheating San Francisco to say they should have lost to Green Bay or they should have lost yesterday.
Yeah.
No, in the biggest of moments, which is how we judge the great players who play this sport, guys like Brock Purdy made plays, Brandon Ayuk made plays, Nick Bosa made plays, Fred Warner made the plays. Tayshaun Gibson, he stripped Jahmyr Gibbs because he's been coached to do that. And in the most crucial moments, he made the play and Jahmyr didn't secure the football. That's what separates in those moments, man. And that's what's it was high drama yesterday. And yeah, all of that together, it's got to be crushing for Detroit. Crushing.
Good to talk to you, Lewis. Hopefully we'll see you in Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us.
That man. I'll see you there.
That's Louis Riddick, ESPN NFL college football analyst. I don't think Lewis made it any better for Lions fans there. Rob in Iowa. Hi, Rob. What's on your mind?
Hey, Dan. Let's see here. 5'10", 255. And I just wanted to give my best and worst first. Best of the weekend. I'm a Niners fan as well as Marvin, and I enjoyed the win, of course, to get us to the Super Bowl. And I've been looking for a rematch with KC for, I wanted to see another rematch with KC, so good to see that. My worst is them keeping the blood pressure up. Man, that first half was brutal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Second half for the opposing fan base. Thanks for your best and worst of the weekend. Bruce in Alaska. Hey, Bruce, what's on your mind?
Hey, Dan. For the life of me, I think you've forgotten some stuff, my friend. There's no way on God's green earth that Bart Starr and Johnny U were game managers. Okay, huge differences. they were going up to the line and whatnot. They were calling their own plays with a target on their back. They got the snot knocked out of them.
But that's the part that they managed the game because they were able to call plays. They managed the game. Why is this a negative? They're Hall of Famers. They managed the game. They had Lombardi. He had Lombardi as his coach. You can't go willy-nilly with Lombardi. They ran the ball. They were known for running the ball. Like, he managed the game. It's not a negative, Bruce.
I'm saying it's a negative. It's a fine point in semantics there. They were going up and they were writing the music. These guys today, they have the sheet music provided them by a staff of coaches and all this technology. They don't process all the stuff the same way. So it's just a matter of semantics, Dan.
Do you think that Bart Starr was a game manager?
No.
Oh my God.
I think Bart Starr was Mozart. He went up and he created.
Okay. All right. Peyton Manning created when he went to the line. Bart Starr didn't create. Bart Starr, they were known for their running game. Lombardi famous for his running game. Paul Hornung, Jim Taylor, that's what they did. Now, in the Super Bowl, certainly against Kansas City, Bart threw a couple of touchdown passes. But they weren't. Game manager is not a negative, folks. It means you understand. Yes, Paul.
If you go back and look at Bart Starr and Johnny Unitas' stats, nobody had 4,000 yards and 30 touchdown season. Nobody. There was no such thing. This is pre-Joe Namath, pre-Dan Fouts, all this stuff. But guys like Bart Starr were having seasons with 14 touchdowns and only 3 picks and 2,200 yards. And they ran, like you said, much more than they passed.
Yes.
But he mastered the passing game in small doses.
He knew what to do and when to do it. That's all. Game manager means you don't have talent. That's how people are taking this. If I say that Tom Brady managed a game, that's the greatest quarterback of all time, right? It shouldn't be a negative. There are guys who don't manage a game. I always thought Michael Vick didn't manage the game. And it was to his detriment. Josh Allen sometimes doesn't manage the game. Certainly early in his career, he didn't. It's just understanding what to do, when to do it. Lamar Jackson didn't manage the game well at all yesterday, right? Didn't. Last interception, triple coverage. Brock Purdy, second half. He managed the game really well, ran the ball. Making a play when you need to make a play. It's not a negative, folks. But certainly when it's coming from me, it's not. Take a break. We'll give you our best and worst of the weekend after this.
Fox Sports Radio has the best sports talk lineup in the nation. Catch all of our shows at foxsportsradio.com. And within the iHeartRadio app, search FSR to listen live.
Hey, everybody, I'm Will Selva from NFL Network and Good Morning Football.
And I'm MJ Acosta Ruiz from the NFL Network, and we are back with a brand new season of El Huddle.
Que bueno, El Huddle is the only English-language original NFL podcast celebrating and recognizing their influences in the NFL while covering the most relevant stories with Latino voices and perspectives.
Each week, Will and I break down some of the biggest news stories and talk to the biggest names from around the game.
And speaking of games, each episode will highlight what stories, matchups, and strategies we're looking forward to in the upcoming week, and what questions are we asking each other, like, who's going to be our perro macho? How about Plátano Power?
Who had un poquito más? I love to see that. And what teams are going above and beyond?
What players do we need to see more from?
No fluency required. We got you. We're your tutors in Español. All you need is a love of the game and la cultura.
Listen to El Huddle on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Last call for phone calls, what we learn, what's in store tomorrow. We make way for Jason McCourty, NFL Network Good Morning Football analyst, and was on the call for the Chiefs and the Ravens, Westwood One Radio. He joins us on the program. What bothered you the most about what you saw with the Ravens against the Chiefs?
The offense. The defense figured it out in the second half. They were shutting down the Kansas City Chiefs for the most part, forcing punts. But Lamar Jackson and the offense, they never were able to get anything going. You look at the way the game ended, the two running backs, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, they both had 3 carries apiece. They threw the ball a ton. And when they did throw it, Lamar, when he got the ball, there wasn't any quick processing. Every play seemed so hard. Even the remarkable plays he made where he spun off and he threw one to Zay Flowers, those plays seemed so hard. Steve Spagnuolo made it so tough for that offense to get anything going. That was very disappointing. This year was supposed to be different from an offensive standpoint with Monken, the way Lamar was playing, throwing the ball from the pocket, and we just didn't see any of that on Sunday.
Okay, so former defensive back, explain to me how Travis Kelce still gets open.
He's so good against zone, so good. And then he shows you a man-to-man with the first touchdown pass with Kyle Hamilton on him, who has been tremendous this year as a DB, all-pro and all of that. Perfect ball placement, back shoulder catch. He makes it for the end zone. But as you watch Travis Kelce, even studying for the game, getting up to it, Buffalo played a ton of zone, and he knows the exact spots. He's such a smart football player, and got a chance to talk to him a little bit before the game. The first thing he said to my brother was, we're coming for every record that the Patriots have, and it's starting today. And he did it. It was unbelievable. 11 targets, 11 catches. It's insane. They didn't double-team him much. They just try to go play their defense, and you just can't do that when Mahomes is the quarterback and Kelsey's the guy throwing to.
Yeah, that's the guy I got to worry about. I mean, I like Pacheco. I mean, Rice. They do have some players. That's the one guy I got to stop. Like, that's where it begins. I'm not going to stop Mahomes, but I got to stop Kelce. That'll help me stopping Mahomes.
Exactly. You go into that game, and it's just like, first drive of the game, they're hitting Kelce. A 4th and 1, they're rolling out, they're throwing back. It's like you go into the game just, all right, if we lose this game at the end of the day, it's not going to be because Travis Kelce killed us, and he's not getting a record on us, and he did all of the above.
What bothered you the most about the Lions and the Niners?
The collapse. I mean, you're up that many points. You get to the second half, and yes, a lot of attention should be paid to Dan Campbell going for it on 4th down. Beyond that, the drops, the fumble, it just seemed like they went in at halftime, and we saw C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's waving to the crowd when the score is 21-7. Got a little over their skis, feeling really good. Moment seemed like it got too big, and they collapsed in that second half. And I do think for Dan Campbell, I get it. The aggressiveness, the 4th down play calls, that's what got them in that game. That's the way they've approached every game going forward. But it's like now you're here. You're in this moment, and you go up 17 points if he kicks the first field goal. But Josh Reynolds drops the pass. He could have extended the drive. But then later on in the game, a chance to tie it up. I thought for sure right there he would take the points. But disappointing to see the Lions, how far they've come this year, and just kind of fall apart in that second half.
But I don't understand this. You know, we watch basketball, and I always say, don't let the best player on the floor beat me. I don't want Michael Jordan to have the ball. I don't want Kobe to have the ball. Whatever it takes, they're not beating me because now I'm going to have somebody who's not used to taking those shots. Why are you going to Reynolds and not Amon-Ra St. Brown or Laporta? Like, that's what I don't understand. And granted, Laporta is a rookie, but still, he had an unbelievable year. I want those players who have been in the position, their go-to guys, to at least get the ball or try.
No doubt about it. And it's almost the same thing. Jordan, at one point, he kicks it to Steve Kerr, and he makes a big shot. John Paxson, those guys step up and make a big shot. Josh Reynolds has been a guy, you look at the game against the Rams, he was a guy that stepped up and made some big catches. And I do think you design plays to go to, whether it's Amon-Ra, whether it's Sam Laporta. Well, Laporta had one of his hands. Amon-Ra did too. So it was almost like a team-wide thing on offense where they kind of fell apart. But Josh Reynolds is a veteran. You need him in those moments to step up. It was especially the first one. It was a play where Goff is scrambling around. He's looking for anybody, and it would have been a first down. So I'm with you. You design those plays to go to your guys, but sometimes they take it away and you need somebody else to step up, and it was Reynolds' moment to do so, and he didn't.
We're talking to Jason McCourty, NFL Network Good Morning Football analyst, was on the call with the Chiefs and the Ravens on Westwood 1. Going forward, who's more likely to be back in the title game, the Ravens or the Lions?
Oh, I'm going to say the Ravens, and I think if they can figure some things out, they have a lot of free agents. That's going to be the tough thing for them. A guy like Justin Madubuike had a career year. He may go get paid somewhere. But I still do think Lamar Jackson is a great, great football player. He's probably going to be a 2-time MVP. The difference is they can get back to that game, but it has to be more to figure out how to get over the hump. I think for Lamar Jackson, as you watch that game, there was a big difference when you watch Patrick Mahomes, those quick, easy passes. They come with a blitz. He knows exactly where to go with the ball. He's not holding on to it. With Lamar on the other side, there was a lot of holding on to the ball. It lets him make great plays, but too many times a game kills him.
What's it like when you're facing a running back like Isaiah Pacheco? Like, he runs hard. It feels like he runs harder than any running back. Is he running harder?
He definitely is. As a former DB, that's one of those things where during the course of the week, I tell the linebackers and the D linemen, do whatever the hell you got to do. Don't let this guy get to me untouched in the secondary, because that's not what I'm paid to do. I'm paid to cover these guys on the outside, not to have these head-on collisions with Pacheco. But he runs angry, he runs pissed off, and I love it because he's a former Scarlet Knight, Rutgers guy, Rutgers legend, and he sets the tone for those guys because not only does he run hard, but watch him how he gets up after a hard run. He's yelling, he's screaming. I'm watching him at the end of the game as they're taking a knee, and he is just walking around the field screaming, looking at his sideline, looking at Baltimore's sideline. So I think everybody feeds off of his energy.
When do you make your Super Bowl pick?
Oh, that'll probably be coming next week. It's going to be a tough one. I'm not doing too well. Championship weekend, I had the Lions and Ravens in the Super Bowl, so I've heard a lot from the Chiefs fans and 49ers so far. I have egg on my face, and I just need to shut up at this point. So my predictions are struggling a little bit right now.
How's Peter Schrager doing on his picks?
Oh, Schrager's walking around. There's no hat that's going to fit his head right now because it's like 5 years in a row he's picked the right winner. And then, of course, this year he picks the exact matchup. So he tries to act like it's not a big deal, but his head's bigger than ever right now.
Is this a dangerous Super Bowl town?
This is a dangerous town no matter what. Why do you think they say Vegas, you only need about 2 days, and now Super Bowl, people are going to be out there for an entire week. So you got to get in, get out, have a great time, but it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to be down there.
But did you guys ever sneak out when you were playing?
No, I never snuck out and made it all the way there to Vegas. But
I'm talking about when you were like the night before a game. Did you guys?
So never in Vegas. I played there in 21, and no one stuck out. People were tired coming from Miami. But there was a year where I was playing for the Titans, and we went down to Miami, and we had 16 guys late for curfew. And, of course, we lost that game the next day. A few guys stayed Sunday night after the game and had to make it back Monday before our first meeting. None of them made it back. Chris Johnson was on that team. I saw him tell the story somewhere of the whole recap. He was one of the guys that stayed, but that was history in Tennessee of that. Everybody talks about that game and that night where we had that many guys late for curfew.
It's called the Miami flu there, Jace.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us. Great to talk to you again.
Anytime. Appreciate you having me.
That's Jason McCourty, NFL Network Good Morning Football analyst. He and his brother on the call. He's done a great job, NFL Network. I mean, that's a very comfortable watch and listen with that group. And they're usually up against us with the Sports Emmy and, maybe competition here. But that's okay. I mean, I can only say what I see. They do a really good job there. Let's see. Aaron in Fort Wayne. Hi, Aaron. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Lamar Jackson, I was watching that game. It just really seemed like he was trying to out Mahomie out there. I mean, he's the king, and you can't try. He's got to do it his way, He's got to do it what got him there.
Yeah, but I gotta turn him loose. I have to just say, look, we're going to win or lose. We have a great defense. We can get by it with a couple of mistakes, but you got to generate points. They didn't put pressure on Kansas City's defense. I never once felt like Kansas City wasn't going to win that game. And Baltimore's at home. They should have at least scared Kansas City, and then they didn't, in my opinion. Jordan in Salt Lake. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good, bud.
61205. So, long-time listener, first-time caller, but just wanted to, talk about the Niners a little bit more because I feel like a lot of the narrative this morning is about the Lions and the fans being all disappointed and everything like that. I don't feel bad for the Lions fans at all. I mean, you guys should be very happy. I'm a longtime Kings fan, so I know the Sacramento Kings, so I know the pain that it is to not go to the playoffs or be relevant for years. So you guys have a good young core, but and the other thing is Purdy too. You know, like a lot of people don't know this, but he has the same 10-yard split as Lamar Jackson. So I think they both ran the 10 yards in like 1.14 seconds. So Purdy's an athlete, and he's not getting enough credit.
Okay. Jordan, what happens after a loss is we talk about the teams that their season ended. That's usually what happens. We have almost 2 weeks to talk about the Niners and Brock Purdy and his 10-yard split. I had not heard that stat. Is Brock Purdy as fast as Lamar Jackson the first 10 yards?
That's a scalding hot take. I mean, scalding.
I didn't know that.
I'll check real quick.
Yes. The 10-yard split. First 10 yards, he's as fast as Lamar Jackson.
That's a burst, Dan. They call that a burst in the game.
We'll get around to talking about the Niners and the matchup here, but this is about a devastating collapse. And the number one seed in the AFC with the MVP losing at home. That's why we're focused on those two teams. Because after this, we're not going to be talking about them. Tyrone in New Haven. Hi, Tyrone.
Hey, Dan, what's up, man?
Hey, man.
Long-time listener, big fan. Me and you, we go way back. Before I get to my point, man, we used to talk about wine a lot out in Milford. It's always good to hear you, and I love the things you do, you and the Danettes. But what I want to talk about, man, is the best and worst parts of the weekend. The worst part is Dan Campbell. Like you said, the ultimate collapse. I'm watching the game. You know, right after halftime, I say to my stepfather, man, if this game was close, Dan Campbell would fuck. I mean,
No. Yeah.
So close.
I'm so curious to know what the rest of that sentence was, though. I got to admit.
Fire truck.
I got to admit.
Yeah, I think it was fire truck there. Yes, Paulie.
I went back and looked, and Lamar Jackson, he appeared at the Combine, but he did more like measurables.
Yeah.
He did not run at the Combine. He didn't do any of the workouts. I got his pro day scores, and I cannot find him running at his pro day, which is weird that you'd think he'd show it off. And I cannot find anything about Lamar Jackson's split times. Brock Purdy's, when he did go to the Combine, his 40-yard dash was 4.84, which is not bad.
Yeah, that's respectable.
And his 10-yard split, Dan, I know you're waiting on it.
What is it?
1.55 seconds.
Okay.
And I have no idea what that means. Yeah. Back to you.
All right, well.
Okay.
Then he's got a burst, as Seton likes to say.
He's got a burst.
Yeah.
That being said, once he breaks out of the pocket and starts running, he looks like a little guy out there.
It does. It does.
Not saying that he's not effective.
If that last caller wants to have a bet on a 40 meters between Purdy and
Well, no,
Lamar,
it's only 10 yards.
I'll take it.
You think Lamar runs 10 yards faster than Brock Purdy?
If he wants to.
Well, I don't know if that was the case yesterday. Let's go to Tony Romo to ask what he thinks of that. Tony?
I'm not really sure what that means. What do you think, Jim?
All new Equalizer, 8 p.m. Eastern.
You know, really, if you go back to Know Your Romo now into this bit, we've spent a fair, solid 15 years.
That's why Tony doesn't come on the show.
I
either.
don't blame him. Gotta admit.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Gotta admit.
Jerks. That's what we are. This day in sports history, Paulie.
1936, the first members of Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame were announced in Cooperstown. Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner, Christy Matheson, and Walter Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And
Babe Ruth wasn't unanimous, by the way.
Imagine that holdout, like,
I don't know.
Gotta show me more.
I don't know.
The 49ers in 1995, the first NFL team to win 5 Super Bowl titles.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Young, 6 touchdown passes. That's it.
Let's see. 1963, the first class for the Pro Football Hall of Fame is inducted. 11 former players, 5 former owners, executives, and George Halas.
What did he do?
Yeah. I was watching X Games over the weekend. And on this day, 2012, Shaun White, first ever Super Pipe perfect score, the Winter X Game. Super Pipe. Todd, what did you learn today?
Louis Riddick expects this particular Lions loss to sting forever.
Seton O'Connor.
Todd always stays focused. Always.
Marvin,
Every day's a Super Bowl except for Ray.
Yeah, except for Ray's Lions. Paulie.
Minimum kindness.
Todd, minimum kindness, yes.
Checking on that one sheet.
Todd, what did I learn?
Lions fans will be agonizing over the NFC title game loss all the time. You might say 24/7.
Thanks for joining us. Our pleasure to serve you. Thanks for the phone calls, emails, tweets, the all-around support. Fritzy, Satan, Marv, Paulie, yours truly. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody. I'm Will Selva from NFL Network and Good Morning Football.
And I'm MJ Acosta Ruiz from the NFL Network, and we are back with a brand new season of El Huddle. Each week, Will and I break down some of the biggest news stories and talk to the biggest names from around the game.
Each episode will highlight what stories, matchups, strategies we're looking forward to in the upcoming week.
No fluency required. We got you. We're your tutors in Espanol. All you need is a love of the game and la cultura.
Listen to El Huddle on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.